An explosive wave of revelations is sweeping through political circles as an insider from within Trump world steps forward with a series of claims that are sending shockwaves through Washington media networks and even former allies who once defended every move made inside the former president's orbit. The insider, whose identity remains protected for security reasons, has delivered detailed accounts of behind-the-scenes dealings that raise serious questions about financial decisions, internal power struggles and strategic maneuvers designed to shield key figures from accountability. The disclosures are prompting a renewed sense of urgency among investigators, journalists and watchdog groups who are now scrambling to verify documents and testimonies that paint a deeply troubling picture of what the insider describes as systemic corruption stretching across multiple layers of influence. According to early reports, the insider described an environment built around loyalty tests, micromanaged messaging and an obsession with control over information flow. The insider alleges that high-ranking figures within the circle were routinely tasked with burying internal conflicts, manipulating public narratives, and pressuring lower-level staff to maintain silence regardless of growing ethical concerns. One of the most alarming claims focuses on a pattern of mismanaged funds and secretive channels of communication that appeared to operate outside formal protocols. The whistleblower insists these actions were not isolated decisions, but rather coordinated efforts enacted over long periods of time. Journalists associated with the Mea Culpa platform have reportedly obtained fragments of internal memos, voice recordings and email drafts that seem to align with the insider's testimony. Sources familiar with the ongoing review say the materials paint a picture of a political machine driven by personal loyalty rather than institutional responsibility, and one that allegedly prioritized protection of its highest members even at the cost of violating long-standing norms within hours of the insider's initial outreach. The political landscape shifted as pundits, lawmakers and analysts scrambled to interpret the potential fallout, one that could reshape public debates leading into upcoming electoral cycles. The insider describes internal pressure faced by staff who were expected to follow directives without question. Some of these directives allegedly involved manipulating public narratives, inventing distractions and discouraging any internal dissent. According to the insider, the culture became so intense that even senior aides felt the strain of balancing public messaging with private realities, creating a widening gap between the image projected outward and the tension simmering behind closed doors. Among the emerging claims are allegations of attempts to influence witness cooperation during past legal battles. The insider asserts that several individuals were quietly encouraged to avoid testimony or modify their accounts to align with preferred narratives, reportedly through indirect messages delivered by trusted intermediaries. While many of these allegations are still under scrutiny, their mere existence has ignited conversations about whether new investigations might be launched or whether existing ones might expand in scope. Financial irregularities also appear prominently in the insider's account. The whistleblower suggests that funds related to political action committees and fundraising events were sometimes redirected in ways that were never disclosed publicly. The alleged discrepancies are now drawing attention from regulatory bodies and ethics experts who argue that even the suggestion of impropriety warrants a deeper look. The insider claims that some financial decisions were made verbally behind closed doors, leaving virtually no paper trail and making accountability far more difficult. Throughout the insider's narrative, a theme of fear and retaliation emerges as a defining feature of the internal culture. The whistleblower describes moments where staffers expressed concerns only to be met with thinly veiled threats, implying that careers could be destroyed if loyalty was questioned. This atmosphere reportedly created a cycle in which employees felt trapped, unable to speak out, yet increasingly uncomfortable with what they were witnessing. Over time, this tension built into a breaking point which ultimately pushed the insider to step forward despite the personal risks involved. Political strategists are already speculating about the broader impact of the whistleblower's claims. Some argue that the disclosures could galvanize opposition groups into renewed activity, while others suggest that supporters of the former president will quickly dismiss the allegations as politically motivated. Critics point out that similar patterns have emerged in the past, with initial denials followed by lengthy legal battles and eventual revelations that confirmed early warnings. Whether this latest wave will follow that pattern remains unknown, but experts note that the level of detail provided by the insider appears unusually thorough compared to previous leaks. The Mea Culpa team is reportedly coordinating with additional outlets to cross-verify documents and testimony collected from the insider. Early indications suggest that more recordings and internal notes may soon be released, offering an even clearer picture of what the whistleblower describes as a network of influence built around avoiding accountability. The team behind the investigation is taking steps to ensure all information is authenticated before publication, aware that credibility will determine how the public responds to the unfolding revelations. As reaction spreads across media platforms, analysts are dissecting the potential implications for upcoming political events, including primaries, midterms and national legal proceedings, and believe the whistleblower's claims could rift public debates about corruption, transparency and the limits of executive influence. influence others, argue that the political landscape has become so polarized that even explosive revelations may only deepen existing divides, leading each side to interpret the facts through its own lens. Behind the scenes, former allies of the president are reportedly expressing private concerns. Some individuals once considered key defenders are now choosing their words carefully, avoiding direct confrontation while quietly distancing themselves from the most controversial allegations. Political insiders say such behavior often signals that individuals are preparing for fallout and protecting their own standing should the revelations escalate into formal inquiries. Meanwhile, loyalists of the former president are attempting to discredit the insider, suggesting the claims are exaggerated or fabricated for attention, but early documentation shared with investigative outlets appears to contradict denials, raising questions about how long counter-narratives can effectively hold. Legal experts observing the situation note that if the insider provides evidence supporting claims of coordinated pressure on witnesses or financial manipulation, it could trigger a wave of subpoenas and hearings. They emphasize that whistleblowers often face intense scrutiny, but that detailed accounts combined with corroborating materials can significantly shift momentum in high-stakes political cases. The insider's decision to approach independent journalists instead of political figures may also signal a deliberate attempt to avoid interception or influence from individuals still connected to Trump world. At the national level, public sentiment appears to be shifting as early reports circulate across social media platforms are buzzing with discussions about accountability, leadership, ethics, and the future of political norms. Many viewers are expressing concern that the insider's narrative aligns with long-standing fears about corruption at high levels of power, especially when coupled with past controversies that saw similar accusations surface and slowly take form through investigations. Critics of the former administration argue that these revelations reinforce their warnings, while supporters insist that the timing near critical political cycles is suspicious. Despite the noise, one thing is clear: the whistleblower has introduced new momentum into ongoing debates, and the coming days are likely to bring further disclosures. Each new detail has the potential to reshape public understanding of events that occur behind closed doors and to influence how voters perceive the individuals who held power during pivotal national moments. The insider stresses that the decision to speak out was not motivated by politics, but by a growing sense of responsibility, a belief that truth should not be hidden simply because it is inconvenient for those in positions of authority. The account also highlights the emotional toll endured by staff caught between loyalty and ethics. The insider describes witnessing colleagues struggle with fear, stress, and moral conflict as they navigated an environment where mistakes were punished severely and truth was considered secondary to maintaining favor. At times, the whistleblower recounts moments where individuals attempted to distance themselves from internal controversies only to be pulled back in by pressure from superiors seeking reassurance of loyalty. These accounts offer a glimpse into the psychological pressures operating within powerful political circles, pressures that often remain invisible to the public. Observers following the story are urging caution, reminding audiences that information is still being verified. However, they also acknowledge that whistleblower accounts have historically played significant roles in exposing wrongdoing, especially when supported by documentation. The current situation appears poised to test the resilience of political institutions as they confront yet another moment where internal loyalties threaten to overshadow public trust. As the Mea Culpa team prepares for additional releases, anticipation continues to build. Political networks are preparing panels, legal analysts are drafting early assessments, and lawmakers from both parties are preparing statements. This intense activity reflects the seriousness with which the revelations are being taken even before the full scope of the insider's materials is made public. The whistleblower remains in a secure location according to sources familiar with the case and continues to cooperate with investigative journalists. The individual has expressed a desire to ensure the truth is fully examined and that the public receives an accurate account free from political spin. The insider's testimony is expected to shape political narratives for months and possibly years as the complexities of internal corruption are examined and debated. In the end, the significance of the whistleblower's revelations may extend beyond a single individual or political figure. It raises fundamental questions about the nature of power, loyalty, and transparency in modern politics. It challenges the belief that powerful networks can remain insulated from accountability simply through influence and intimidation, and it underscores the importance of those who choose to come forward even when facing extraordinary personal risk. This moment marks a critical chapter in ongoing conversations about truth in politics and whether institutions built to protect democratic processes can withstand the pressure of internal corruption. The insider has opened a door that may be impossible to close, and the nation now waits to see where the evidence will